I had to get on here to record a video, live time, showing you everything that's happening in the market. There's been some TikTok and Instagrammers have gotten famous over quote unquote draining the swamp, where they're showing all this mass exodus, people leaving everywhere. If you haven't heard it, then I want to show you a couple things. One, I'm going to show you what's being said out there. Then two, I'm going to dial it into what our real estate market is actually doing. Why is this important? Because I've had multiple clients reach out to me, even agent partners in other parts of the country say, "Hey, what are you seeing?" And here's one of the ones that got famous.
Market in Washington, D.C. and neighboring areas is exploding with new listings, meaning everybody is putting their house up for sale. And you
Okay, that's not true. It would be great if it was, because if it was, we wouldn't have such pin-up buyer demand. And that's what we have right now. We've got a lot of buyers that are still waiting for properties to come on the market. Here's one on TikTok that also got big traction where they're saying over 4,200 homes just went up for sale in the last 14 days. Well, couple things to note, which is the fact that guess what? That is the timing of our market. But I want to show you even hyper local an example. So we recently put this home on the market just in the last week in February. We had over 74 registered showings. We had over 100 people in the first open house and over 50 in the second. That, my friends, would not happen if there were 10, 15, 30 other homes just like it. So I want to clue you into kind of what the market really is, what it's doing, and what you should prepare for. But this is an example. This is the home there in Springfield. Now that was at 625, which also you could say, well, that's part of why there were so many people interested. Here's a home we sold 2 weeks ago. And this one is in Fairfax Station. It went on for over a million, 1.1. We had multiple offers and sold well above that list price. This wouldn't happen if there were 10, 15, 20 other homes just like it on the market. So as you're thinking through that, I want to just now show you what's happening in the market itself if we're looking at statistic reports. So let's take this. The average single family home is going to be anywhere from 600 up to 1.2 million in the area. And let's say first we start with Washington, D.C. Now, all I've said is that it's going to be residential. And let's take a look. Now, this would include single family, townhomes, all of the above. And as an example, last year in February, 667. Now, year to date, 808. Is it more? Sure it is. We're in the spring market, and there's a lot more people that aren't waiting anymore for rates to go down. They've kind of figured out, okay, it is what it is. Let's go ahead and sell and move or buy up in what we want to do. But that was an example of Washington, D.C. Now, one other parameter to look at is 56 days on market. Now, that's a little bit higher for us. Let's go now into, let's take, for instance, Arlington. We'll use the same 600,000 up to 1.2, and let's put in Arlington County, which is right outside of DC. And take a look here. Average days on market is 39. You can see 79 last year, 109 this year. Is there an uptick? Absolutely. But I would view that more as rate reluctance, where people didn't want to move, didn't want to sell last year versus people getting laid off. And this is why. Because I want to clue you into a couple key factors when it comes to that. When you're thinking through, okay, well, should I sell, should I not, or what are people doing? Because obviously they're saying on TikTok and Instagram that everybody's selling. If the owners have under 4% interest rate, which most do, people that bought over the last 5 years, many of them have an under 4% interest rate. If they went to go rent tomorrow in the same area, they'd be paying more for rent. So this whole idea that someone got furloughed or lost their job and they automatically put their home on the market, that's not true. That's not what we're seeing. Um, at the same time, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, is one of the best areas for employment. So, yes, it may not be the same thing they were doing before, but they're likely to find another job here in the local market than they would going somewhere else. And again, it's limited inventory. So if you're looking at the structure of, okay, well, what happens and when do things change? It's based off the inventory itself when we're looking at those things. Now, as far as what's out there, what are we seeing, and what to keep in mind. Absorption rate. So absorption rate is the speed at which inventory is removed from the market. Typically in our marketplace, if it's priced well and in good condition, it's selling within the first 30 days. And for the most part, at least within the first 60, which still warrants a seller's market. Yes, there are coming soon. There are some other properties as far as inventory to go. But let's do this. I'm gonna log you in. Here you can see all the coming soon, 274, 341 active. But look how healthy the market is. Pending 467, 291. What that's just showing is as soon as something of quality goes on the market, it's getting gobbled up, right? So let's take a look at this. Let's go into the map selection. Let's type in Washington, D.C. And for those that know the market, I'm going to circle the Beltway. And if we go basically around the Beltway, let's show you what we're seeing as far as inventory goes and what that looks like. So let's go to criteria. And what I'm going to do is remember how they said it's an avalanche of things. Well, let's use this. We used 500,000. We were doing 600,000 to 1,200. And if you look at the results, 579. Well, let's take away the active. There's 84 coming soon. So this whole deluge of look at all the inventory coming, it's not there. It's not happening. If we use that same effect for under contract and pending, 326. So you can see how quickly the inventory is also selling when you're looking at this whole DMV. So here's a couple things to think about. Number one is if you've lost your job or been furloughed, it could be a choice to sell. But we are not seeing owners just run to the market to sell because of the things I already mentioned. Inventory is still super low for our area where they have the pent-up buyer demand. So we're not seeing things like you've seen in Austin, Texas, and in other places where the supply outweighs all of the demand. Now, I will tell you, I just got the phone call with a client who they've owned their property for 5 years and now have to go back 5 days a week in person. They also don't know where they're going to be after that. So keep in mind that like with anything, that nothing's guaranteed. But if you're a seller thinking, well, I need to sell and get ahead of it, I wouldn't worry about that because the inventory is still low. If you're a buyer, I've had buyers reach out and say, James, I heard all this inventory, everything's going to sell for less. That's not happening. Remember, just the one I showed you, where we have 10 offers on that one property right there in Springfield, Virginia. We had multiple offers for the other one. So if it is in priced well and in good condition and in an area that does well for resale, we're still selling them sell for at list price and many times above within the first 7 to 14 days on the market. Now, everything is hyper local. I get that. Every community is different. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, please reach out to a local expert, someone that's been doing it for years, where we can dig down into not just the county, the area, but your community to show you what's happening and what you could use to leverage and get yourself the best, whether you're buying or selling. And make sure this, don't just follow the TikTok and Instagram trend, reach out to a local expert.